What is going on, everybody? Welcome to the Cosmic Wonder. Right now, a lot is happening for Avengers Doomsday and Avengers Secret Wars. They are filming officially right now for Avengers Doomsday, but they are also tackling Avengers Secret Wars at the same time. Not filming-wise, but script-wise. Obviously, Doomsday and Secret Wars have to connect to each other, so while they're getting the script done for Doomsday, they're also completing a good majority of it for Secret Wars as well. The Thunderbolts releases tomorrow, then we have the Fantastic Four, and we go into the next Avengers films, but Marvel Studios is preparing beyond that, and they are preparing for what is going to happen in the MCU after Avengers Secret Wars. In fact, they have two movies that are releasing very soon, right after Avengers Secret Wars. Avengers Secret Wars right now is scheduled for May 7th of 2027, but Marvel does have two other films listed for 2027 coming after May 7th. They have one movie coming 2 months after Avengers Secret Wars, scheduled for July 23rd, and then another at the end of the year scheduled for November 5th. So two movies coming very quickly after Avengers Secret Wars, which is supposed to be sort of a soft reboot of the MCU. We do know that moving forward, our new universe will consist of the Avengers, the X-Men, the Fantastic Four, and basically all the Marvel characters now in one universe. And that first movie that comes after Avengers Secret Wars is highly speculated to be a new X-Men film, and Marvel Studios has already confirmed multiple times that they have been working on this film for a while now. They have their screenwriter for it, Michael Leslie, who recently wrote The Hunger Games, The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, and it's rumored that Marvel Studios wants the Russo brothers to kick off the new part of the MCU for them and direct many different projects in the beginning of Phase 7 or Phase 1 if they decide to start over, to make sure it starts off right. So this new X-Men movie could be directed by the Russo brothers, which does make sense. The Russo brothers have directed really the best projects to come from Marvel Studios: Captain America the Winter Soldier, Captain America Civil War, Avengers Infinity War, and Avengers Endgame. Now they are directing Avengers Doomsday and Avengers Secret Wars, which will end the multiverse saga, so having them begin the next saga, the X-Men saga, makes a lot of sense. And we have some news about which villains we could be seeing first in the new X-Men saga. You might have heard this news over the last couple of days, but it looks like Marvel Studios wants Mr. Sinister to be the first villain that we'll see in the new saga and the first villain that the X-Men will face off against. According to the insider Daniel RPK, the current draft of the X-Men reboot film reportedly features Mr. Sinister as the villain. This actually lines up with reports that we have heard very recently, especially over the past year when Marvel Studios announced that they had auditions for writers. They had a bunch of different writers come in for the new X-Men film. They landed on Michael Leslie and started working on the overall idea for the X-Men movie, and work on the script went into full production. Then we heard a very interesting rumor that Marvel Studios wanted John Hamm to play Mr. Sinister in the MCU. So Mr. Sinister being the villain for the X-Men film in the current draft of the script right now lines up with what we've heard. And for those who might not be aware, back when 20th Century Fox owned the rights to the X-Men, when they were doing the New Mutants, one idea that they had was to actually bring Mr. Sinister to life in the movie and have John Hamm play Mr. Sinister. And in an interview with John Hamm and Screen Rant a little bit over a year ago, when he was asked if he would like to play Mr. Sinister in the MCU, he said yes. And since then, we have actually heard some other casting rumors for who could play Mr. Sinister in the MCU. One we heard in February was that Marvel was actively talking to Javier Bardem about the role for Mr. Sinister. So it seems like it's very clear right now Mr. Sinister is the direction that Marvel Studios wants to go. And I personally think it's a really good idea because it sets up a villain who, at least in theory, should not be a one and done villain. But he's a villain who can return multiple times throughout the new MCU history, as he does in the comics and in the animated series. But this also lines up with some other reports that we heard that the X-Men film in the MCU is going to be pretty similar to what we saw in X-Men 97, particularly the roster, and Mr. Sinister was a part of X-Men 97. He was one of the villains in the first season, and I'm sure he's going to return in season 2 and or season 3. And if the character roster is going to be very similar to X-Men 97, that means we can expect characters like Cyclops, Storm, Gambit, Rogue, Wolverine, Bishop, Beast, Jubilee, Morph, Jean Grey, and if Mr. Sinister is involved, perhaps Madeline Pryor as well, Professor Xavier, Magneto, and more. We could be seeing this team take on Mr. Sinister in the very first X-Men film in the MCU. But Mr. Sinister isn't the only villain that is going to be coming to the MCU early on in Phase 7. We are hearing further reports that Annihilus is going to be one of the main villains of the next new saga. Now, in February, it was announced that Marvel Television has paused development on 3 projects: Terror Inc., Strange Academy, and the Nova Project. But what we've heard recently is that they are not canceling the Nova Project, and we're specifically talking about the Nova Project here. We don't know about the others, but they're not canceling the Nova Project. They are simply waiting until after Avengers Secret Wars to get back to it. Now, this is primarily due to the fact that while we're reaching the end of the multiverse saga, they really do want to just focus on stories that have to do with Doctor Doom and everything else relating to Doctor Doom, like the incursions. The Thunderbolts does tie into Avengers Doomsday, obviously the Fantastic Four does as well, and then we go right into Doomsday and Secret Wars, with Spider-Man Brand New Day in between and possibly one other film. We're thinking Doctor Strange 3 or Shang-Chi 2. But even these films in between Doomsday and Secret Wars will still tie into the overall story of Doom. So with the exception of projects that Marvel Studios has already filmed and completely are just done with by now, like the Ironheart series, they're not doing any more projects for the multiverse saga, the exception being Vision Quest, but that is going to tie into the overall Doom story. And another reason that they are reportedly saving Nova for the next saga is because of the villain that they're going to introduce, Annihilus. According to the insider Daniel RPK, Annihilus is going to be the villain of the Nova series, where we will see Nova and the Nova Corps go up against Annihilus and his annihilation wave. Now, right away, let me address something because I know a lot of fans are worried about this. In the comics, Annihilus and the Annihilation Wave are massive. They literally destroy 1 million planets, and Annihilus is a huge villain. A lot of fans are worried that they're going to kind of waste him for a Disney Plus show. But according to Lizzie Hill from thecosmiccircus.com, they have heard that Annihilus is indeed still planned to be the villain for the Nova series, but he is not going to be a one and done villain. And he won't be killed in the Nova series because he will once again return in the MCU to be a bigger villain of the overall picture of Phase 7, and possibly maybe even Phase 8 or 9. What we're hearing right now is that he's not going to be one and done, and he will return again, much like what Marvel Studios probably has planned for Mr. Sinister. And again, I think this is the right way to go, much like they did with Loki. He was the villain of the first Avengers movie. He was the villain of the first Thor movie first, but then he went on to be an overall villain of the MCU. Then he became more of an anti-hero, and now he is a complete legend. Now, that's not going to happen with Mr. Sinister or Annihilus. They're villains. They're not going to turn good. But we could see that happen for other villains in the MCU moving forward, like a new Doctor Doom. Marvel Studios is going to get a new Doctor Doom, one that is not played by Robert Downey Jr. in the new Marvel Universe. And that's the great thing about the sort of soft reset of the MCU after Secret Wars. It's a fresh start for Marvel. And they know that Doom needs a lot of backstory and a lot of buildup. A buildup to him becoming a very big villain, but also just him being a very important character. He's not always a villain. Sometimes he's an ally. So he's definitely going to be introduced post Avengers Secret Wars, played by a new actor. And he'll most likely be one of those villains slash characters that will come in and out many different times in the MCU. So we already have 3 villains it looks like we'll see in the next part of the MCU: Mr. Sinister, Annihilus, and Doctor Doom. And hopefully, I would like to think at some point in time, Marvel will revisit Kang again, but we'll have to wait and see on that. In the meantime, let me know your thoughts about this in the comments down below, and let me know how excited you are for these villains. Please don't forget to like the video and subscribe so you don't miss out on any of the latest MCU news, rumors, or leaks. You can catch us on TikTok, Snapchat, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. And as always, thank you all so much for watching. Woof woof.